That is the worst card in the deck for him.
Joe goes all in.
Yes, wow. Yeah, wow indeed.
Two biggest stacks at the table.
You see that correctly. That's Ian Steinmann with a set of kings. He just got moved in on in a huge spot, and he hasn't immediately called. I don't understand exactly why. Luckily for him, he's onto something here because McKeon has the nuts. We can see that. This is a crazy hand. It was suggested by so many people.
Oh my gosh!
I don't think my face is even on the screen anymore with all the suggestors over here. I don't know what's being shown right now, but it's definitely not my face.
No, it's absolutely true. Now, by the way, when we're saying this is a huge spot, this is the final table of a World Poker Tour event, main event. There's 5 left. This is for like basically the tournament. I mean, this is the biggest part of the tournament for sure at this point. This is a huge thing.
It is crazy, and that's why all these people suggested it on Twitter. Of course, if you want to suggest a hand for the breakdown, tweet at us, include a YouTube link.
Yes, please do that. Also a timestamp, we appreciate that as well. Now, before we get into the video and show you the whole hand, we got to stop and acknowledge Nitrogen Sports Poker, the people responsible for this video being put out to you for free.
I mean, that's a pretty sweet deal, isn't it?
I think
Nitrogen
so.
Sports Poker has a lot of sweet deals, including a March Madness deal. Check out the description of what they're doing for March Madness because they're a great sports betting site, and they have a lot of cool March Madness things going on.
Of course, we also have our monthly tournaments that you only are eligible for if you sign up using the link in the description of this video. Please do that. It's super cheap to get in. Huge overlay, like $1 to get in. Massive overlay every time. We will see you there.
Couple of Cowboys here for Ian.
Could get sneaky with a limp. He's gonna go with the normal raise.
Raises to 160,000.
Joe is going to at least call.
And Joe makes the call. Heads up to the flop. Flop is ace, 7, 5, 2 hearts.
Ace, 7, 5, couple of hearts out there. That's not going to affect either player. Ian's hand far and away the best still. Let's see how he plays.
Ian bets 150,000. Joe calls.
Spicy float from from Joe. And the ace 5-7 with the queen 10. Just not relenting.
Jack of clubs there, turn. Yeah.
Sorry, not relenting because he knows that Ian's going to bet that flop 100% of the time that he raises pre-flop or near it. And that is a good card to bluff with. Got a little bit more equity with the gut shot after the jack comes.
Joe bets 370,000.
You just hate to lay down kings.
Yeah, he's not going to be folding kings on this flop.
Why not?
On this.
Why not? Because of the ace.
Well, it's blind versus blind, and you're up against a guy who's creative and tough. The only reason to fold right now is because you know a big bet is coming on the river, and you're not going to call that too. So if you are going to call the river, or if you don't know a big bet is coming, then you have to be calling here because Joe can call wider. Oh no!
Oh, devastating card for Ian.
That is unbelievable.
He makes his set on the river, and that gives Joe Broadway just crushing. So if Ian had any doubt in the back of his mind what you guys were talking about with being worried about that ace, no longer. Instead, it runs out perfectly for Joe. It sets a huge trap for Ian.
And Ian goes with a big lead, I think.
Ian bets out 800,000.
And Joe is going to shove, and
Fair
he is going
enough.
to call.
This is a game changer. 800,000 is the bet. 2.2 million already in the center. And yeah, like you said, Tal, I don't see there being any way all the chips don't get in here.
The look back.
Poor Ian, this is not fair.
That is the worst card in the deck for him.
Joe goes all in.
Yes, wow. Yeah, wow indeed.
Two biggest stacks at the table.
Wow, he's actually considering this. This is amazing. I would have high-fived people and called already.
It's taken 30 seconds so far.
Would have had to stop you on your victory lap and tell you didn't win.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Just when you think it's your dream card, it's your death card, you know? I mean, it's such a terrible card for Ian. He's burning through those time extensions. But like you said, Tyler, he's really considering this.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
It's his second 30 seconds.
There's no way he gets away from this, right?
He has 8 of those time extensions.
Would be pretty amazing. Look at him. He knows he's beat somehow. That's unbelievable.
How can he think he's beat here?
I don't know. I'm shocked.
So third 30 seconds. And he's stacking up those time chips.
This is unreal that he's considering getting away from this.
This is my fourth one if I hit it again.
And yeah, the time's wearing on him. Maybe without the time, maybe he would get away. Can't believe
Fourth
it.
time extension. And he's just stacking them up.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
Man.
Oh, my goodness.
I guess I can't wait 30 minutes to find out.
You are not reading the screen incorrectly. Ian Steinmann has a set of kings, and he's thinking about it, and he doesn't look happy. I would just be thinking about the effing Mirage, man. What's going on here?
Let's get the chips in, baby. That's what I'd be thinking. I wouldn't be thinking it. I'd be doing it. This is really kind of crazy / incredible / weird that he's not only thinking about it, he's used up several of his time extensions, or he's going to. What is going on here? What in the world is he even thinking about, sir?
Okay, well, let's go over a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, it's very hard for him to be beat. Joe McKeon does have Queen 10 somehow, but we wouldn't expect any Queen 10 except for Queen 10 of hearts here in a traditional perspective. Now, McKeon obviously has a lot of floats in him on the flop. Maybe he floats a ton. Maybe we can give him a couple extra combos of Queen 10 because of that. Maybe if he has the Queen of hearts in his hand, we can expect him to float with that, something like that. Also, McKeon very rarely has a set of aces. It's really hard for him to have that, especially because of the pre-flop action. And, oh wait, that's the only two hands that beat us.
I mean, and we're talking about Queen 10s. I guess if you want to be really generous, we could give McKeon 5 Queen 10s. All the Queen 10s with the Queen of hearts in them, because that's the backdoor heart.
Only 4.
Well, wait, let me finish. Okay. And then the suited Queen 10, that's the other backdoor flush, which I can't remember what it would be.
Okay. Clubs, I think.
Clubs is what I thought too. So then that could be 5 if we decide he's always calling with the 2 backdoors in that spot. I don't think he is always calling there, even though he called this time with a Queen 10 with no backdoor flush draw. Still, I think this is not something he's going to be doing 100% of the time. That would be kind of crazy and suicidal, right?
Right. So I guess the next question becomes, okay, so we know what hands beat us. What hands do we beat that McKeon would actually play this way? Because think about the way this hand played out with McKeon betting the turn, having floated the flop, Steinmann then out of flow, betting the river. I don't think McKeon really has bluffs pretty much ever. It would be a very bad idea to bluff here most of the time.
Well, and the reason why is Steinmann's range is crazy strong when he makes this particular line and makes this bet on the river. We talked about it on our podcast where we went super deep into this hand especially. We had a lot to say about this hand and think about it and talk about it,
it's an intense hand.
But really, the bottom of Steinmann's value range here, we think, is King Jack.
Yeah.
Which we think we could see him check calling the turn with, and then betting out on the river with to try and get called by an ace.
And then
right?
he
That
might
makes sense.
he might fold that. That's
Yeah.
true. But it is foolish for McKeon to target the bottom of Steinmann's range to fold out, and maybe Steinmann won't fold that sometimes. Maybe he won't.
Right, he may decide to call because let's remember, Steinmann's going to have 30 blinds even if he calls and loses here. That's another reason not to bluff here.
Yeah.
Is the chip leader. You can't put true ICM pressure on him. Maybe some, but not true ICM pressure the way Steinmann could in theory to McKeon because McKeon would be out.
Right. So some of you may argue with us and say, wait, McKeon has a ton of bluffs. He has all sorts of missed draws and stuff. We just don't think he's pulling the trigger on those based on Steinmann's line because why would you do that? It just feels like a really bad time to bluff. There are way better times.
I agree with this. I don't think that means McKeon has 0 bluffs, but I do think it means he has very, very few, much less than you might normally suspect.
Like half a bluff, maybe?
Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe half, but very few combos of bluffs because of what we're saying. It's a very strong range to be bluffing into. And as Grant likes to say, you shouldn't target 2 pair or better when you're bluffing. It's
No.
a bad idea.
It is a really bad idea.
Classic Grant. by the
Classic
way.
Grant.
So if we think about, there's very few bluffs, what value is there? Whether their Queen 10 of hearts does make sense.
Yes.
Besides the Queen 10 of hearts, I would think a set of 7s makes a lot of sense. What's the other flop card? 5?
Yeah.
Set of 5s makes a lot of sense.
Well, we have to question that assumption.
Okay.
And Steinmann obviously is questioning that assumption because
Clearly.
if he's putting 5s and 7s in McKeon's range, he has to snap call because
Right.
that makes the combos very much outweigh the bad combos for Steinmann, right? So
Yeah.
let's think about this from the beginning. McKeon might 3-bet those sometimes pre-flop, right?
Yes.
It is blind versus blind. We are shorthanded. It's the chip leader. He's probably going to bully us a little bit, right? So that would make sense that we could eliminate some combos pre-flop.
Sure.
I think more of the combos we can eliminate on the flop because it's an ace-high flop and it's a rainbow flop. That's a really good
2
time.
hearts.
Oh, it's not a rainbow.
It's actually
Well,
better.
A heart is part of the rainbow, and so I need a second one for the other half of the rainbow. You know
Yeah.
how like the colors go both ways?
This is great.
You understand what I'm saying? It's actually better than it not being a rainbow flop. There are 2 hearts because there can be draws out there. So you would expect McKeon would raise a set on the flop a lot of the time, especially an ace-high board where Steinmann could very well have an ace and not be able to fold.
Having said all of that, it's still completely plausible that McKeon won't raise a set of 7s on the flop, and he won't necessarily have raised it pre-flop either. I think we have to give him some percentage of the combinations of 7s and 5s, where especially 5s, he really may decide just to call, and sometimes 7s also. And then on the flop, he may think, sure, I'm going to raise this sometimes on this board, but I can't do it all the time. And sometimes I want to have a lot of calls. This protects my calling range by having a few very strong hands here. So I think he can have sets, but I don't know how many, and this is the real
Definitely
question.
not all the combos. Definitely not
Right.
all 6 combos.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Definitely not all 6 combos of sets, but also probably not all the combos of Queen 10, and very few combos of aces, right? Of sets of aces.
I don't think he really has any of
He
those.
probably
Maybe
has like
half.
a quarter of a combo or something.
All right, so as Steinmann, to even consider the prospect of folding here, we have to make a ton of assumptions and then be pretty sure we're right.
Yes.
Because, so assumption number 1 has to be McKeon has more than just the Queen 10 of hearts for Queen 10s. He has those other ones that Jonathan's talking about, and maybe even other ones. Obviously, he does have beyond that because he has the no backdoor Queen 10.
Yeah.
Well, except for the straight draw, of course. The second assumption has to be McKeon very rarely gets here with sets, if ever. Maybe he doesn't ever get here with sets. So we have to have both of those be correct in order to consider folding here because we have the top of our range.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we have to, the other assumption that really has to be correct is McKeon understands that this is a bad time to bluff and wouldn't do it.
Well, he
Or
does
almo- or
understand
would-
a lot of things.
Would almost never do it, let me say it that way.
Yeah.
So that's a third assumption where if we don't have that, I think we still have to call.
Right.
So all 3 of those things have to be in play. Now, it's possible, what's his name?
Steinmann.
I was going to say McKeon. It's possible Steinmann puts all this together and thinks, like, that makes it close at least, right?
Yeah.
I think it's still a call because look at the price we're getting. If we call and are right, we're in such good shape to win the tournament. We have all the chips, all of them. The next biggest stack is 30 blinds. We're going to have like 150 blinds or
Yeah.
something like that. It's going to be an incredible spot. If we call and we lose, we still have 30 blinds. I don't know how we can be so sure all these assumptions are correct. I think it's very questionable. And as we like to talk about on this show a lot, distribution-wise, this sort of forces us to call if we're ever thinking about distribution.
It's possible the moment is getting to Steinmann. That could be something as
Maybe.
well. Although, that said, Steinmann has been playing with McKeon. It's possible his assumptions are in line with what's true.
Yeah.
And maybe he's right. We don't know because we do know that McKeon does have the nuts here.
Yeah.
We know that for sure. That's a data point in Steinmann's favor. So let's see what Steinmann does.
5.
Incredible.
This is unreal.
I'm like riveted right now.
Oh my god.
It'd be unbelievable fold.
I'm just gonna keep using it until my hand's killed. Huh? Another one?
6 time extensions. So I know how long he's waited on this one. 3 minutes.
Not gonna be in a spot this hard again. Wha- Why is he beating himself up?
He folded.
Oh my
You let it
god!
go.
What is that?
That is unbelievable.
What an
That
incredible
is so
fold.
awesome.
Well, he did it.
He folded.
He did it. I don't know if it's good, but he did it.
It was correct.
But is it good and is it correct over time?
Yeah.
I question it. I don't think I would make this fold mainly because of distribution. I don't like folding anyway, but distribution would sort of force me to call. I would say, congratulations if you got me, but I sure hope you have a set of sevens. I don't think this is a profitable fold over time, but I will admit it's closer than I originally thought based on all of our points.
I lean towards this being a bad fold as well, but I still think maybe it's brilliant. If there's something that we're missing here, that would be great to know. If any of you in the comments can let us know something that we maybe didn't know about this final table or something that was going on between the two as a dynamic, something extra that we didn't think of that really makes this the right fold, please let us know.
I will say this, if you are a guy who's going to fold the top of your range when you can't have the nuts to a shove, then you're pretty exploitable, excuse me, like pretty easy to get you off hands if that's the case. Now, I'm not saying that is the case normally for Steinmann, but like that is potentially a problem with making this fold.
Right, well, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, please do. We can't wait to see what you have to say, especially on that one.
Now, to Jonathan's point, we had a bunch of James Obst hands from when he made his deep run in the main event, and he played a lot of interesting poker. Clearly, he was a very good player. He made a lot of folds, a lot of calls that seemed marginal, especially his fold against Rouen. That's not the one we're talking about. We're going to talk about his fold against Qui Win in this video right up here, which kind of shows the other side of the coin when making an elite fold.
And we liked the play by Obst, to be clear, but still, it didn't always work out. Now, if you want to know how we came to all our decisions about this hand, we didn't watch Doug Polk's video on it. We did our podcast on it. It was like 50 minutes long. You can listen to us get super deep into it. I started off very angry about this fold.
Yes, you did.
I end up chilling out a little bit, I admit. But still, I don't like it when people can be so exploited.
I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's the worst fold in the world. The amount of anger was amazing. It didn't make any sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really powerful for you. It's great.
I was walking around.
So anyway, check out that podcast, and if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel.